and welcome to our presentation, Consequences for Preschoolers. If you have a preschooler, you've probably had the experience of being in public and having your child not listen to you. He keeps on doing whatever you just asked him to stop doing. You feel like all eyes are upon you and you just don't know what to do. You want a quick and effective method to help your child behave. Well, very little in parenting is speedy, but there are effective methods for working with your preschooler, which we will discuss in this presentation. Why isn't parenting fast? There's many reasons, starting with the preschooler themselves. As children grow, there are certain developmental tasks that they need to master at each age. 2- and 3-year-olds are learning to be independent, to do things for themselves, to separate from their parents, and to gain a sense of ownership. What this means is they often say no and are not good at sharing. 4- to 6-year-olds are learning how to use power, to explore the world on their own, and to take initiative. What this means is that they have their own ideas and do not always want to listen to you. In addition, children are not alike, and they are born with their own temperament. Some are easier to raise than others. Those who have a high activity level are more persistent and are more sensitive to sounds or smells or visual stimuli, are more intense when expressing their emotions, or are naturally more serious or negative, can be more difficult to raise. It can be harder to redirect their behavior, and they may be more likely to dig in their heels. On top of all that, children cycle in and out of phases in which their behavior is smoother and times when it's more challenging. If you have a spirited child who is in a period of disequilibrium while you're trying to change a behavior related to a developmental task, you may find yourself in the middle of a real mess. To complicate matters, children frequently have external stresses, such as starting a new school, moving, or the birth of a sibling, that adds another layer of drama. Knowing that children must go through these challenging norms and that neither you nor they can change it can help you to be more patient and understanding. You may find ways for your children to accomplish these developmental milestones that are acceptable to you. For example, rather than expecting your preschooler to share his new toy when his friend comes over, you can talk with him beforehand about keeping the special toy in a special place where no one will play with it. He can select other items in advance that he'd be willing to share. By taking these steps, you are acknowledging his need to master his job of owning while guiding his behavior to be more acceptable. And sometimes you just have to wait for maturity to kick in for your child to outgrow certain behaviors. For example, many 4-year-olds love to use bathroom language. If you can ignore it over time, your children will find such words less hilarious. This does not mean that you let them run wild and accept any and all behavior. None of this is an excuse for bad behavior. You can still guide your children and teach them what is right. It may just take a while to get there. And as you do, you'll want to look beyond just the behavior. You want to consider how they feel about themselves. Ultimately, children who see themselves as capable and worthy of attention and care will be children who want to live up to their highest abilities. Children develop this inner strength through their relationship with their primary caregivers. So as you work to guide and curtail your children's behavior, you want to do so in ways that builds, not destroys, your relationship with them.
Consequences are an effective way to help your preschooler learn appropriate ways to behave and to consider the impact of his behavior on others while still preserving your relationship with him. There are different ways to think about using consequences. The first is the most familiar idea about consequences that involves imposing consequences on children when they do something wrong. For example, the television may be turned off when siblings fight about which program they want to watch. The other perspective involves the larger purpose of using consequences, and that is helping children realize that their behavior has an impact and encouraging the development of empathy. For example, you can ask, "What did Mommy do after you pushed your sister down?" Or, "How do you think Will felt when you didn't let him play with you and Sean?" Knowing the value of both ways of thinking about consequences can help you use them more effectively and intentionally. There are a number of different kinds of consequences that you can impose. The first type of consequences are called natural consequences. They happen all on their own without you doing anything. Whenever it's safe, let your child experience the direct results of his actions. Not wearing a coat on a cold day will teach him more than any amount of your talking or forcing or cajoling. If it's really cold out, you can bring the coat along with you and give it to your child when he complains about being cold. At that point, you can make a simple teaching statement such as, "Even though it's warm in the house when we leave, we still need to have a coat when it's cold outside." At other times, when there are no natural consequence, or the natural consequence is too dangerous, you may need to impose a consequence. Sometimes it can be as straightforward as taking away a toy that is being played with inappropriately, such as a child throwing pieces of a puzzle across the room. First, you can try the following. You can state the rule.
No throwing in the house.
You can repeat the rule.
No throwing.
And you can offer choices.
You can throw a sponge ball or put the puzzle pieces on the board.
You can try to distract your child to a more acceptable outlet.
You look like a child who has a lot of energy. Let me see how high you can jump.
You can follow with a teaching piece about how puzzles are not for throwing.
A piece could get lost, or someone may get hurt if the piece hits them.
You can present your child with a final choice.
You can put the pieces on the puzzle board, or I need to put it away.
If your child keeps throwing the pieces, then you can calmly say,
I see you choose to have me put the puzzle away,
as you pick up all the pieces. If your child protests, you can say,
next time you need to keep the pieces on the board.
The consequence for not playing with the toy appropriately is to lose the privilege of playing with it. Sometimes the situation may not be quite so straightforward. Maybe your child is not only throwing the puzzle pieces, but is hitting a sibling and yelling loudly. Or perhaps this afternoon it's the puzzle pieces flying across the room. This morning he dumped all of the books on the floor, and yesterday the Legos were left out. Requests to help clean up continue to go unanswered. You can feel at a loss as to what the right consequence should be. Under these circumstances, you may want to use imposed, not logical consequences. You might call a time out, during which all fun is on hold and all privileges are suspended. The idea is not to punish your child, but to get his attention. Your purpose is to restore safety, calm everyone down, reinforce your rules, teach your child what is acceptable, and provide an opportunity for him to re-enter the situation and make amends. You can explain in simple terms that the two of you need to talk, and until he is ready to talk, then all extras are stopped. Examples of extras could be desserts, treats, extra books, play dates, outings, television, or other screen time. What is happening is serious, and you're stopping everything so you can deal with the situation. You want to talk with your child about his behavior and the choices he is making, and this means that all privileges are stopped until you have successfully discussed the issue. It is not a you against them attitude. Rather, it's a you with them. You're working to help your child make better choices for himself. The following information is adapted from Myrna Shaw's Raising a Thinking Child, which goes into more depth for working with your preschooler.
In order for children to be able to judge and understand the impact of their behaviors on others, there are certain concepts they can learn that will help them. Just as you have to teach feeling words, you also need to teach your children words for them to consider the consequences of their behavior. So the first is same or different. Is throwing the ball at him the same as handing the ball to him? Some or all. Is eating some of the candy the same as eating all of the candy? Is or is not. Is throwing the ball in the house one of our rules, or is it not one of the rules? Before or after. Did I take the ball away from you before or after you threw the ball in the house? Now or later. If you eat your lunch now, will you be hungry later? If then. If you throw the ball in the house, then what will happen? Will or will not. If you call Sarah a mean name, will she or won't she want to play with you? Fair or not fair. Is it fair or not fair to your little brother that you always pick which show to watch? There's also, when you're thinking about this, understanding consequences, you can work through with your child. And when there's a problem, there's certain questions that you can ask to help them understand the consequences of their behavior. The first is, What are the facts? Who, what, where, or when?
What happened? What's the matter? What were you trying to do?
What were they feeling and thinking? What were other people feeling and thinking?
How do you feel? How does Sarah feel about what happened?
What was the consequence of their behavior?
What happened when you did that? Did that get you what you wanted? How did Sarah respond to you?
What can they do differently in the future?
Can you think of a different way to solve this problem?
You can then help your child evaluate each idea.
Is this a good idea or not a good idea? Do you think that there is a better way to get what you want?
If the idea is a good one, then you can try it. If not, then you can ask your child to think of something different. Also, what help do they need from you?
Is there anything that I can do to help you? Do you need me to go with you when you say you're sorry?
And finally, how do they feel about what happened?
Are you still feeling sad?
So here's how it would look when the mother in our example asks her son to stop throwing puzzle pieces. We enter the situation after she has tried repeating the rules, giving him choices, distracting him, and repeating the rules once again. Ethan, I need you to listen to me and stop throwing the puzzle pieces.
Okay, Mommy.
But does he stop? No. So Mom says again, Ethan, you need to come over here with me so we can talk.
What, Mom? I wasn't doing anything. I want to play with Jason. He was laughing. He likes it.
Ethan, you did do something. Let's talk about what happened. Why am I not letting you play with Jason right now?
Because you're mean.
We're not talking about me being mean now. We're talking about what happened before I got mean. What were you doing when I said you couldn't play?
I was throwing the puzzle and making it rain puzzle.
What were you trying to do when you made it rain puzzle pieces?
I was having fun and I wanted to play with Jason.
So you were having fun, but did throwing the puzzle let you continue to play?
No, because you're mean and you stop me from having fun.
That may be, and I don't like it when you throw puzzle pieces. So is throwing puzzle pieces a good way or not a good way to be able to continue to play with Jason?
It's not a good way.
Can you think of a different game you could play?
Well, we could take turns jumping on the mats, or we could go outside and play catch.
Do you think jumping on the mats would be a good way to get to continue playing with Jason?
I think that would be good.
I agree. Do you need me to help you?
Well, can you help me move the mats to the center of the room so we jump really big jumps?
I'll be glad to. First we need to pick up all of the puzzle pieces. Once the floor is clear, I can pull over the mats. Are you ready to clean up?
Yeah, let's do it.
You solved that problem really well and came up with some good things to do with Jason. By stopping the play, this mother got her son's attention. She showed him that his behavior has consequences. It could be good consequences, getting what he wants, or bad consequences, such as in this case, not getting what he wants. Either way, his choices directly impact the results. She was able to work with him to make better choices. Another important part of helping your child to make amends is letting them see that they can make things better. It may seem like a tall order, but there are many things kids can do to remedy a situation. If someone or something was hurt, they may need to apologize. They can offer to help the child rebuild a tower, help to clean up a mess, offer the child another toy, or draw them an I'm sorry picture. As we mentioned at the beginning, parents often feel as though they need to impose consequences, but really the goal is to teach your children to realize that their choices have consequences. Imposing consequences just stops the activity so you can point out the impact of their behavior and what better options they can pursue. Once they have completed this process, then all privileges are reinstated. Again, the goal is not to punish, but to teach your child the consequences of his behavior. And once this mission is completed, then good feelings and privileges can flow again. Thank you for viewing this section on consequences for preschoolers. We invite you to watch all of the articles we have on our website about discipline. Thank you.